So in this segment, we're going to be talking about the rising costs of the Irish sea border. So for anyone who doesn't know, there is a border between Great Britain and Northern Ireland. It's not obviously a physical border; it's the sea. But the point of it is that it will check goods going in from Great Britain to Northern Ireland, and the idea is it stops products going into the Republic of Ireland via the back door and then into the EU. So that's generally the idea of it. Obviously, it stops a hard border within between the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland, because what we don't want is a repeat of the Troubles. Um, because I wasn't around for them, and I'm glad I was not, because it sounded awful, and we should do our best to never go back to that situation again. So enough monologuing. So let's go to the article. So it's now been 3 months since the UK's separation from the EU, and the greatest tension in that time has been over the creation of a brand new border within the UK, the Irish Sea border. It is part of the Northern Ireland Protocol, a contentious aspect of the Brexit deal. People associate with the new violence within Northern Ireland from certain loyalist groups with Brexit. It's not just down to Brexit, from what I've read. It's also down to drugs and other things. So we'll wait until more information comes out about that. So going back to this, the different aspects which introduce checks on goods crossing the Irish Sea as a compromise in order to avoid checks on the land border with the Republic of Ireland. However, these checks have proved to be controversial, and the protocol is opposed by Northern Ireland's unionist parties, who see it as undermining their place in the UK. So obviously we know that the DUP are not happy about this deal because of the fact that it puts them closer to the Republic of Ireland rather than the UK, talking about regulations wise, and the fact that, goods can flow in from the Republic of Ireland, without any barriers, whilst getting products from GB to Northern Ireland, there are barriers in the way. There are customs checks, vet checks, etc. However, these checks have been proved to be controversial, and the protocol is opposed by Northern Ireland's unionist parties, who see it as undermining their place within the UK. In order to examine the issue more closely, I hopped aboard a lorry. So this is reporting from Emma Vardy. So she hopped on a lorry to see what was going on. So countless hours on the phone, James Allen, the managing director of haulage firm Allen Logistics, creatively named, knows all about the challenges of the the Northern Line Protocol. So we've had to, this is him speaking, we've had to use our own initiative to learn and adapt in a very short space of time. It's very interesting that the government didn't actually manage to help him, despite the fact that we've known for a long, a couple of years now, about the Northern London Protocol. And also, more recently, it's more in December that people finally realised we are going to be a third country. At least the people who didn't know. I suppose the people who knew more about trade and people who have a little bit of knowledge on how trade works with the EU would have figured that there would have to be, border checks, etc., vet checks, because the UK became a third country when we refused to stay within the single market, and in part in the customs union as well. If we stayed within the customs union, we'd have less issues, but that's a different argument with completely different things. Anyways, this guy saying, we have spent countless hours on the phone explaining the process to customers. With that in mind, we begin our journey from Great Britain to Belfast. This is that journey in numbers. So the extra costs are between £50 and £350 per pallet. So haulage firms estimate that one pallet of goods, which previously would have cost around £100 to ship, now costs an extra £50 to £350 for all the new admin. Obviously, it depends. If you've got animal products or certain plant-based products, etc. But what you can see is this is a lot more per pallet, and lorries can carry a lot of pallets. They can carry a lot of pallets within, the storage bit of the lorry, whatever you would call that bit, the cargo bit maybe. You'd be, so you're talking about the costs adding up a lot just through that alone. So I was thinking about it a bit more, and I was thinking maybe we should do the maths on how much extra companies are having to pay per pallet on goods going to Northern Ireland from GB. So if we think about, so I've managed to find this article about it, about lorries, excuse me. And so you can fit 33 Euro pallets in a Kurtsteiner trailer. I have no idea what that means, but I'm guessing it's just a standard lorry. So if we assume it's £50 extra per lorry, right, per pallet, sorry, you're talking about £1,650. Okay, and if we're talking the maximum amount it could be, you're talking £11,000, £11,000 increase per lorry. It's just my cat in the background. He's fine. So, if the maximum possible amount, it will be about 11k extra per lorry, right? That's a lot of money per lorry. And if we go to the lesser amount, which could possibly be down to these trailers here, which is at 26 pallets per lorry. There's the ice cream man again. So you look at it, 26 times by 50, which is £1,300 per lorry. And if we look at 26 times 350, which is the maximum amount extra per pallet according to the article. How much the higher amount is, about 9,100. It's over £9,000 per lorry, and that's the 26. The lorries that can hold 26 pallets. If we go back just quickly again, the 33 pallet, 33 times by 350, £11,550 is a lot of money per lorry, and that's going on to the cost of, the consumer. Ultimately, the consumer will have to pay for this, and it's a massive increase just because of Brexit. The Northern Ireland Protocol is very much a part of Brexit, and a huge increase on to Northern Ireland, which is not far from here. Well, not from where I am, but in terms of where countries are, GB is incredibly close to Northern Ireland, and for these costs to come up is a massive failure on the Conservative Party to not explain properly the implications of their Brexit. There's the cat. Anyways, just a further point to the video. Enjoy the rest of it. James has employed extra staff to help him deal with the new customs requirements. Obviously, that costs a lot of money, but suspects eventually customers will bear the brunt. So it looks like he's trying to claim that he's tanked the costs, which is very strange that a business would do that. But eventually, he's saying that the weekly shopping price is going to go up, and in order for certain shops to avoid this, they are going to be looking at different supply routes, which is something we'll talk about towards the end of the video. So 4 hours added in turnaround time. So some products require more form filling than others, like products of animal origin and plant-based products. Haulage firms estimate there is now an added 4 hours turnaround time per trailer. Oh, so that's what they're called. Well, I didn't know we called them that in this country. So anyways, 4 hours extra. So you have to pay the driver more for taking the goods. And what that means is when it comes to transporting stuff, maybe they do specific jobs. So maybe they take their goods from, Great Britain to Northern Ireland, and then maybe they take it into the Republic of Ireland after that, or maybe they take it from Great Britain to Northern Ireland and then they come back with other stuff and take this back to Great Britain. And you can see that 4 hours is a long time to add for a lorry. So each pallet must be checked to make sure it has the customs clearance before it can be loaded onto a lorry, because if you do groupage, which is multiple companies putting their products onto a lorry to go somewhere, which reduces costs in terms of transport, if one person doesn't have their customs papers on point, the whole thing can get sent back, and that's a nightmare situation. So the Industry Association for Freight Transport, known as Logistics UK, calculates that since January, which is obviously since Brexit, since the transition period ended, around half of its businesses have had exports to Northern Ireland delayed or cancelled due to the challenges of the new border requirements. And you've got to think that if your stuff keeps getting delayed, the stuff that you need for your business keeps getting delayed or cancelled, you're going to move to a different supply chain and move to a different country to buy the products from. And that while things are improving, more than a third of its members surveyed said they did not expect their volumes of trade to return back to normal. So just over a third of businesses think that things will never go back to how they were before the transition period ended. So that could be the case that 2/3 of businesses don't know what's going to happen, or it could be the case that they think things will go back to normal. I would argue they are not going to go back to normal. At least unless you own a different kind of supply, a haulage company that operates inside of the EU, as well, then things may change for you. But if you work for a business that specifically takes things from Great Britain to Northern Ireland, then you're in trouble, my friend. In Northern Ireland, lorries must enter through new border control posts. This can add an hour or two onto the driver's journey, depending on what goods are on board. Like we said, animal and plant stuff. Border staff are trying to speed things up, but obviously they need to fully understand the processes as well. And then, once they learn best practices, as Luke Thomas would say, they can be sped up on it. They may be more efficient, but the thing is, they will never be as efficient as things were before, because there were no checks before. So officials have been working with transport companies to try to minimise inspection times on arrival when they can, and they must be commended for that effort, says James. Nonetheless, the border control posts are the most contentious focal points of all. So that's not just, he's not just talking, geography here, he's talking politics, and that, the border control posts do signify kind of that the Northern Ireland are moving away from Great Britain. So Northern Ireland is moving away from Great Britain and being closer aligned to GB, and people within Northern Ireland obviously know this. So the resentment is scrawled on graffiti on walls, placards, and placards spelling out loyalists, opposition are cable tied to lampposts outside the Northern Ireland ports. Obviously, we know violence has been ramping up, but that is down to other factors as well. So it's important to wait for those. But obviously, this dude here, James, can see it, that things are starting to boil a bit. So the border post, the lorry was. So this is talking about specific issues. So the border post the lorry was directed to on our journey turned out to be too small, and we watched as our driver nearly became wedged in. So he nearly got stuck because the border post was not big enough to deal with the lorry. So that's a bit embarrassing. And obviously, without enough lorry posts, it means that you're going to face more problems like this and more delays if you have bigger lorries. So work was supposed to begin on building a new border post, but amid political opposition, Northern Ireland's agriculture administrator has halted it. So, things may become more efficient in time as, tensions begin to simmer down. But until that happens, and until these border posts are put up, there's still going to be significant delays by the sounds of things. So figures from Stena Line show that freight travelling from Holyhead in Wales to Dublin initially halved and is down by nearly a third. So the question we need to ask ourselves is how low is it going to stay for the long term? Is it going to go down by is it going to stay down by nearly a third, or is it going to go down to a quarter or maybe a fifth? Because any kind of loss is still a big loss that shouldn't have happened, but is down to Brexit and the incompetence of the British government. Hauliers are now travelling by different routes in large numbers. Crossings from Ireland to France, which miss out GB entirely, continue to be easier. So this picture, unfortunately, I can't zoom into it, but what you can see here is these ports here within the Republic of Ireland of, I can't read what that one is, but that one says Cork. They're going to Bilbao, which is in Spain, and you've got a couple of ports here, Roscoff, and a few other ones in France, and they're missing out, Great Britain entirely. Typically, they'll probably go to a port, say here, drive straight down onto another ferry there, which is obviously quicker, because if it wasn't, they wouldn't be doing that. So, this is obviously more time consuming, but it avoids things like, it avoids any delays, because if it goes to the UK, then obviously there's going to be issues when it comes out the other side, going to the EU. So that's the reason why they're avoiding the UK completely. So Trade Director for Stena Line, Paul Grant, explained such a dramatic change was unforeseen and that Stena had to adopt fast. I would argue that, I don't know who's been advising them, but perhaps they should have spoken to other people, because people have been predicting this for a while, that there would be issues driving through GB. So it's very strange this has happened. So he's saying we've had to move ships around and do different things in different places. No one expected the challenges we had. I mean, people have been saying this for a while, that there will be issues, and these are the kind of issues they would have, because GB is the third country. I know Boris Johnson's been lying about it, saying there'd be no non-tariff barriers, etc. But it's very strange that, this guy is saying this. Obviously, I believe it's genuine, but I don't know who's been advising him. But flows will go back, and I think it just will take more time. This only because this is the start of the process. It could take a number of years before things could become easier. And I think that so long as he follows the strategy of avoiding Great Britain entirely, I think that, things will obviously be delayed. It takes, by the sounds of things, it takes longer to bypass Great Britain. I think the route to Bilbao, Cork to Bilbao, I'm surprised that's not a more a used route, because that doesn't need to bypass the UK whilst the other one does. So that's very strange. But what we can gather from this is the fact that costs have gone up per pallet in lorries from between 50 and £350. There's a 4 hour delay, up to a 4 hour delay on lorries. There aren't enough border posts, which means that lorries can get stuck. Obviously, if you have customs issues, that can be a huge problem. And what else did we learn? That supply chains are moving. So we can see here that the Republic of Ireland is trading directly with EU countries as opposed to cutting through the UK. And that means that those lorry drivers who may have stopped off in the UK for petrol or for food or just to take a break, they're not going to do that anymore. And so that's going to cost money. That's going to, people in these areas here, and obviously people who live in these areas up here, where there are other ports, will lose money because they'll have less passing traffic. Anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.